Another mystery buried deep in the hills of eastern Washington keeps resurfacing, a bottomless pit said to be a pathway to the paranormal.
Mel's Hole, a mysterious and seemingly bottomless pit in eastern Washington, has long puzzled locals and researchers alike. Discovered by Mel Waters, this enigmatic chasm has been the center of eerie discoveries and unexplained phenomena that defy logic. Surveillance cameras lowered into its depths have captured unsettling footage, baffling scientists and fueling speculation. Encircled by whispers of paranormal activity and government secrecy, the true nature of this void remains unknown. Situated on the Mellett property west of Ellensburg, on the Manastash Ridge, the hole appears to be an ordinary well but serves no practical purpose. Over the years, it became a dumping site for various objects, yet it never filled up, sparking Mel's curiosity about its depth. His experiments, involving fishing lines and weights, revealed that the hole extended beyond 166 miles without reaching the bottom. Adding to the mystery, animals instinctively avoided the area, and unusual radio signals were detected nearby. One local even claimed to have thrown his deceased dog into the hole, only to see it alive days later, wearing its original collar but seemingly unaware of its owner. In 1997, Mel brought his story to the popular paranormal radio show, Coast to Coast AM, with Art Bell, igniting widespread intrigue. Shortly after, the U.S. military took control of the site, preventing Mel from accessing his land and offering dubious explanations. Reports surfaced of helicopters circling the area and of a strange, dark beam of light emerging from the hole. Some witnesses even described the hole's influence on the surrounding environment, where plants thrived abnormally and radios picked up broadcasts from the past. Despite military roadblocks and government intervention, the legend of Mel's Hole continues to captivate those drawn to the unexplained, leaving the truth buried deep within its endless abyss. Mel's Hole captivated listeners of Art Bell's radio show, drawing countless theories from callers about its origins and nature. Some speculated it was situated on a ley line, an invisible energy path across the Earth, while others believed it to be a gateway to another dimension or even a portal to the hollow Earth, an ancient theory suggesting an entire world exists beneath our feet. One eerie claim was that objects tossed into the hole might reappear in another realm. An old neighbor mentioned that large stone pillars once surrounded the hole, hinting at an ancient significance. However, as Mel's story gained traction, warnings arose about government surveillance. Shortly after, Mel vanished, failing to return for his scheduled radio appearance. A television crew seeking the hole later found no sign of it, only evidence of military activity. 3 years later, Mel disclosed that he had been offered a staggering $3 million annually to surrender his land, with the strict condition that he leave the U.S. permanently and never speak of the hole again. Reluctantly, he relocated to Australia but eventually risked returning home to see his family. However, Mel's return took a bizarre turn. En route to visit his nephew, an argument broke out on the bus, leading to police intervention. Passengers were questioned and transferred to another vehicle, but Mel blacked out inexplicably. When he awoke, he was in an alley in San Francisco, disoriented and missing 12 days of his life. His wallet had vanished, his arm bore puncture marks as if from falls, and he had lost several back teeth. As he attempted to piece together what had happened, he discovered he had lost ownership of his land and was falsely accused of illegally constructing buildings. Then, just after contacting Art Bell again, all his money mysteriously disappeared from his bank account. Critics dismissed his story, but Art Bell and his audience remained intrigued. A TV crew later found evidence that the military had been operating in the area, and strangely, planes were no longer permitted to fly over the site. A satellite imaging website even displayed a blacked-out square where Mel's land should have been. Some skeptics accused him of fabricating the story based on this black square, but the satellite images only emerged 6 months after Mel's first radio call, ruling out the possibility that he used them as inspiration. Mel's story took an even stranger twist when a Native American tribe from Nevada contacted him about their own bottomless hole, seeking his insight. They introduced him to the Basque people, a group of European shepherds who had lived in Nevada since the 1800s and considered the hole sacred. Unlike Mel's original hole, this one was lined with an unusual metal ring and emitted a persistent warmth. When Mel accidentally dropped a tool onto the metal rim, there was no sound, it was as if the noise had been swallowed. To investigate, they lowered a bucket filled with ice 1,000 feet down and left another bucket on the surface for comparison. When retrieved, the ice at the surface had melted as expected, but the ice from the hole remained solid, though it had turned warm and dry, resembling salt. Strangely, this transformed ice did not melt under fire but instead ignited and burned for months. They repeated the experiment several times, only deepening the mystery of the inexplicable properties of the hole. Mel and the Bosque people continued their experiments with the mysterious hole, sometimes lowering ice that remained normal, but other times transforming into the strange, burnable kind. At one point, someone from the Bosque group considered going down the hole themselves, but the others quickly discouraged the idea. Instead, they devised a different plan: they would lower a sheep into the hole. Strangely, the sheep resisted, as if sensing something unnatural. Eventually, they carefully placed it inside a box and lowered it 1,000 feet down. As the rope descended, an eerie humming sound filled the air. After leaving the sheep in the hole for about half an hour, they retrieved it, finding it motionless. Upon closer inspection, they realized it was dead. The Bosque people, being experienced with sheep, decided to examine it further. What they discovered was unsettling: its insides appeared cooked, and a large, pulsating tumor had formed inside its body. As they watched in shock, the tumor began moving on its own. Gathering their courage, they cut it open, revealing a strange creature that resembled a baby seal, yet not exactly. It was attached to the tumor by an umbilical cord, and most disturbingly, it had human-like eyes. The creature slowly moved to the edge of the table, appearing to want to return to the hole. Despite its slimy texture and an odd, storm-like scent, Mel picked it up and placed it near the hole. For hours, the group and the creature silently observed each other before it finally leaped back into the abyss. This event had an unexpected consequence. Mel, who had been diagnosed with a severe form of throat cancer and given little time to live, found himself completely cured. He believed that his encounter with the mysterious being had somehow healed him. This experience profoundly changed him, making him feel as if he had stepped into another world and emerged as a different person. As the episode of the radio show ended, listeners were given a stern warning. The road leading to Mel's hole was still there, real and accessible, but anyone attempting to go there risked strange and possibly terrifying consequences, even vanishing without a trace. A few months later, Mel returned to the Coast to Coast radio show with more astonishing stories. After their earlier experiments, one of the Bosque individuals had taken a piece of the never-ending burning ice to use for warmth inside his cabin. However, the fire behaved in an unnatural way, continuously burning for months while pulling all moisture from the air, making the atmosphere unbearably dry. The man suffered from constant thirst and dry skin, and even boiling water behaved strangely, as steam was absorbed directly into the fire. Then, something shocking happened. The wood stove, heated by the burning ice, suddenly fell through the cabin floor as if the ground could no longer support it. Rather than repairing it normally, the cabin's owner simply patched up the hole and continued using the mysterious fire for warmth. But the bizarre effects persisted, and a few weeks later, the entire cabin disintegrated into dust, as if it had been drained of all structural integrity. When the owner returned a month later with his brother, they found something even more puzzling. The stove was now 5 feet below where the ground had once been, as if the burning ice had created a miniature version of Mel's bottomless hole. The surface around it remained unnaturally smooth. Attempts to remove the stove by hand failed, and it wasn't until they brought in a massive crane that they were finally able to extract it from the strange new pit. However, this was far from the end of their discoveries. The Bosque people, now more convinced than ever of the hole's extraordinary and dangerous properties, continued their investigations into the enigma surrounding it. People began sharing their own experiences with the mysterious seal-like creature that had emerged from the original hole, seeing it as a benevolent spirit connected to the strange and powerful energies of the abyss. Many felt a deep, spiritual bond with it, something beyond ordinary understanding. Then came the birds, brightly colored and impossible to scare away or harm. They continuously circled the hole, undisturbed by anything, leading the Bosque people to interpret them as signs of acknowledgement or blessings from the seal and the enigmatic forces surrounding the hole. It seemed as though the birds and the seal were part of a larger, unfolding spiritual story in Nevada. As time passed, the truth about Mel's hole remained elusive, shrouded in mystery. In an astonishing turn of events, the Bosque group claimed that the magical seal had found a way to communicate with them, not through words, but through beeps and clicks transmitted over the radio. They insisted these sounds weren't random but were actual messages, warning them about the dangers of the never-ending burning ice. The seal, they believed, was cautioning them that the ice could bring disaster if it fell into the wrong hands. Intrigued, Art Bell pressed the Bosque for proof, and they assured him they had recordings of every sound, every supposed message. Eager to uncover the truth, Art promised to bring Mel back on the show to discuss the evidence. He urged Mel to gather any proof, recordings, photos, videos, so they could finally validate the astonishing claims. However, before any of this could happen, something strange occurred. Mel suddenly went silent. He stopped responding to Art's messages, and then his phone line mysteriously went dead. No one heard from him again. 5 years passed, and Mel's Hole became one of those enduring mysteries, filled with unanswered questions and speculation, never completely fading from memory. While the legend of Mel's Hole remained one of the most captivating stories ever told on Art Bell's show, verifying its truth was another matter entirely. The exact location of the hole remained unknown, with satellite images from Terra server once showing a blacked-out area where it was said to be, only for Google Earth to later reveal the region with no obvious anomalies. Some believed the military had taken over and concealed any evidence of the hole's existence. Dedicated enthusiasts and curious investigators attempted to pinpoint the site based on Mel's descriptions. One explorer even found a location that closely matched Mel's claims, featuring 2 old buildings, one collapsed, and a wide, stone-lined hole. For a brief moment, the internet buzzed with excitement, but the discovery was short-lived. The hole turned out to be just an ordinary well, with a visible bottom. As for Mel himself, he remained as much of a mystery as the hole. No official records linked anyone by his name to the area where he claimed to have lived. Some speculated he had used a fake identity to protect his privacy. One of the biggest gaps in the story, however, was the complete lack of photographic or physical evidence. Despite the extraordinary tales, no one ever produced a single verified picture of the hole or the strange occurrences surrounding it. Whenever Mel appeared on Art Bell's show, Art persistently asked for photographic proof, but Mel always had an excuse. Sometimes, he claimed he had simply forgotten to take pictures. Other times, he insisted that cameras wouldn't function near the hole due to some strange interference. On occasions when he claimed to have photos and recordings, he never seemed to have them on hand, always promising to send them later, but never following through. Despite the sensational nature of his stories, Mel never sought financial gain. If he had wanted to, he could have easily capitalized on the legend by selling books, t-shirts, or fabricated images. Plenty of people would have been willing to buy into the mystery. Some skeptics believed that as the story grew more elaborate, Mel found it harder to keep up with his own fabrications, leading him to disappear entirely. Yet, for 5 years, he remained consistent in his accounts, never once contradicting himself, even when Art Bell actively tried to catch him in a lie. As for the hole itself, its very existence defied geological understanding. A pit that extended indefinitely without collapsing seemed impossible, unless, of course, it was something beyond natural explanation, perhaps a portal to another realm. While belief in Mel's Hole persisted, even Art Bell, despite his love for the bizarre, may have harbored doubts. Nevertheless, he understood that his audience was fascinated by the eerie and unexplainable, ensuring that Mel's story would endure as a modern legend. In 2017, a group of mystery seekers, still captivated by the tale, took it upon themselves to find the legendary hole. Armed with modern technology, including GoPro cameras and powerful lights, they followed coordinates found online that supposedly led to Mel's Hole. Arriving at a remote farm, they stood at the edge of a seemingly endless void. When they tossed rocks into it, they listened intently for any sign of a bottom, but the mystery only deepened. As they conducted their investigation, they felt an unsettling presence. Someone or something was watching them from afar, adding an eerie dimension to their quest. They filmed everything, but before they could review the footage, an overwhelming sense of urgency drove them to leave. As they departed, they noticed a small beetle fall into the hole, a simple yet haunting reminder of the unfathomable depths that continue to inspire curiosity and fear. To this day, the question remains, is Mel's Hole merely an urban legend, or does a deeper, darker truth lie hidden in the Washington wilderness? The mystery endures, drawing in new generations of seekers eager to uncover its secrets.